Hey guys, and welcome to my channel. I'm Savannah and this is Grits and Gratitude. It is finally fall here in South Carolina. It has been a very hot summer and I think we're all ready for some cooler weather. But since it was feeling like fall, I felt like sharing a fall recipe. So if you didn't know this about me, I am a full-time baker and cake decorator. I've been doing this for about 10 years. And since it is fall, I've been rolling out with some fall flavors at work and I figured I would share one with you guys here. So today I'm going to be making a pumpkin spice caramel cake, and it is one of my favorite cakes. It's really festive and I think it's the perfect recipe to bring to a family gathering or Friendsgiving or anything like that. So I'm going to show you how to make it. So if that sounds like something that you would be interested in, give this video a thumbs up. That really helps out the channel, and keep on watching.
So the first thing we're going to do is get our cake in the oven. So I have preheated the oven to 350 degrees and I'm putting 1 cup of butter and 2 cups of granulated sugar in my stand mixer, and we are going to beat the ever-living mess out of that butter and sugar. It needs to be light and fluffy, and if you think you're mixing it too long, you are doing it just right. And meanwhile, I am cracking 3 eggs into a bowl and giving them a light beat just so they're broken up and easier to add to the batter. Here we are measuring out our dry ingredients, so we're going to need 2.5 cups of all-purpose flour, 2 teaspoons of baking soda, 2 teaspoons of baking powder, and 1/2 teaspoon of salt. Then we're going to go in with our spices. We're going to do 1.5 teaspoons of cinnamon, 1.5 teaspoons of ginger, 1/2 teaspoon of nutmeg, and 1/4 teaspoon of allspice, and 1/4 teaspoon of cloves. Now you do want to scrape down your bowl a few times when you're beating that butter just to get any of the butter that's stuck to the side of the bowl down in there and let it get all mixed in, and then you mix up everything that's in your flour mixture so it's all combined. I added the eggs. You kind of add them one at a time, but it's hard to tell when they're beaten, so you're just kind of putting it in there whatever way feels right to you. And then I added a splash of vanilla. And here I am measuring out 2.5 cups of pumpkin puree. This is just the canned stuff. I never use like fresh pumpkin, but 2.5 cups are going to go in, and then you're going to turn your mixer back on, and it's going to look awful. It's going to look curdled and gross, but nothing's wrong. Don't freak out. Now you're going to need a cup of buttermilk, but I didn't have any, so if you just add a splash of lemon juice to regular milk, it will pretty much turn it into buttermilk. So I'm just adding the flour, alternating with my milk until everything is mixed in and incorporated, and then you're going to scrape down your bowl again, make sure everything's good and incorporated, and when it is all mixed up, this is what it should look like. This is a really thick batter, but it's just from all that pumpkin and butter, so it's a really moist cake. But anyways, you are going to spray 3 9-inch pans with the baking spray. You want the kind that has flour in it, and you're just going to smooth the tops and bake those at 350 for 25 to 35 minutes. It just depends on your oven. And while those are in the oven, we are going to get started on our salted caramel sauce. So I have 1 cup of sugar going into a saucepan. That's it, just sugar. And you're going to put it on a medium heat and mix it periodically, and it's going to start clumping together because that sugar is going to start to melt. You're going to continue to cook. Sometimes you have to move it off the heat because you don't want it to get too dark because it will scorch easily. And when you are doing this, be very, very careful, because if you splash this on your hands, it will not come off. It's like tar. You will get burnt very badly. But once all the lumps are out, then you're going to switch to a whisk and you're going to add in 6 tablespoons of butter. Now it's going to bubble rapidly when that butter hits that hot sugar, so just be careful and watch out for steam. But you're going to mix it, and it might look a little separated, but that's no big deal. And then you're going to take a 1/2 cup of heavy cream, and you are just going to add it a little bit at a time, and it's going to bubble rapidly again, but just stir that all together, and then you're just going to let it boil for about a minute. This is what it looks like when it's boiling and how it looks when it is finished. So this caramel sauce is a very good recipe. I use it all the time. It's kind of intimidating the first time you make it because you're scared you're going to burn it, but I promise it will turn out fine. If you by chance used unsalted butter, you will need to add a little pinch of salt, but I used salted butter, so it's good to go. Now our cakes are done. I just took them out of the oven. They smell great. When I tell you it smells like fall in my house, it smells like fall, y'all. You can check to see if they are done by inserting a toothpick, but I normally just tap the top, and if they spring back, then you know they are good to go. So now we are ready to make some icing. So to make the icing, we are going to start with 2 packs of cream cheese, so a pound of cream cheese, and 2 sticks of butter. You're going to beat that until it is completely smooth and there are no lumps of butter or cream cheese left. I'm also adding a little bit of vanilla. You can add however much you want. And here I am making a cinnamon sugar. We're going to use this between the layers and on top of our cake. And it's really going to give us that fall flavor that we love so much. And after we beat our cream cheese and butter until it's completely smooth, we're going to add in a 2-pound bag of powdered sugar. Scrape that down a little bit just to get all of that sugar incorporated. And then we're going to take a little bit of our salted caramel sauce and we're going to pour it into the icing. Now, you don't necessarily have to do this, but I just like the taste of it in that cream cheese icing. But you're just going to give that a beat until it is all incorporated, and then we're going to start assembling our cake. But this is what your icing should look like when it is finished, just light and fluffy and delicious. So to assemble the cake, we are going to put our first layer. I put it upside down just because there was a little bit of a dip in my plate. We're going to top it with a big blob of that caramel cream cheese frosting, spread that evenly over the layer, and then we're going to top that with some of the cinnamon sugar that we made while our icing was mixing. Now we're going to top with the other layer of cake. I put them all upside down just because it gives you a smoother surface to work with. And again, we're just spreading on a big blob of that cream cheese icing and sprinkling it again with the cinnamon sugar. So that's going to be the inside of your cake. And again, adding that cinnamon sugar just does something magical to this cake. After we get the top layer on, we're going to go in with a crumb coat. So this is a thin layer of icing that seals in all of the crumbs so that your final layer is clean. So you can do this, and then a lot of people like to put it in the freezer for about 10 minutes just to let it harden, and it makes it easier for your second layer of icing to go on. But I'm a little impatient, so I don't ever do that. I just do the crumb coat and then I go straight in with my second coat of frosting. Now when you frost the top, this cake is super moist, so you might have some of the icing want to stick and make your cake come up. See right here? Yep, I had a little hole, so you just cover it back up and go in with your second layer of icing. And this is the one we're going to try to make pretty. So it's a thick layer of icing. We're just going to spread it evenly over the entire cake. And then I like to put a little design in the sides of my cake just because I feel like it gives it a little more pizzazz than just a regular flat iced cake. This is not necessary. This is just a preference. And if your icing job is not perfect, it doesn't matter because this cake is so good, nobody really cares what it looks like. They just want to eat it, I promise. But after you get this final layer of icing on, you are ready to start with your garnishes. But again, like I said, I went back and added some lines in the side of my cake just because I think it makes it look a little fancy. And it's a really easy technique. You literally just drag your offset spatula over the side of the cake in whatever kind of pattern that your heart desires. Now, if you're going to be making a lot of cake, I highly recommend getting one of these offset spatulas. A lot of people find it easier to ice with the bigger ones, but I've always just used the small one just because I feel like I have more control. But I would highly recommend picking one of those up. You can get them at Walmart or Hobby Lobby, anywhere like that that has a cake decorating section. Now I am topping that final layer of cream cheese frosting with more of that cinnamon sugar, and then we're going to go in with our salted caramel sauce, and I'm just going to add a drip down the sides. I just really like how that looks on a full cake. I just think it makes it look elegant and pretty, but I am just doing a little kind of wiggly motion to make that caramel go down the sides, and then I am just drizzling over the top. I go one way and then I turn the cake about 90 degrees and go the other way. I just think that makes a pretty like lattice look on top, and it makes it look really fancy, and I like that because it makes me happy when cakes are pretty. But I just drizzle it until my heart is content, and then I'm going to go back with some cream cheese icing and do a border on the cake. Now your border will be more precise and more pretty if you have a piping tip, but I don't have any of my piping tips and stuff like that at home. I keep it all at work, so I just cut the end of a piping bag off, and it just gave me a little round tip, and it turned out just fine. So after I do that little border around the side, I am just adding little blobs to the top of the cake. I just kind of go in like a circular motion, kind of similar to a lowercase e. And then when I go to pull my icing bag up, I stop applying pressure so I don't have like a long tail coming up from that. And then here I'm just finishing it off with a little bit more of that cinnamon sugar. So this is what the cake looks like when it is done. I think it turned out really pretty. I know I would be really excited if I saw this at a party or a gathering. I'd be like, oh my gosh, when are we eating dessert? Because that's what I want. But that is how you make a pumpkin spice caramel cake or caramel pumpkin spice cake, whatever you want to call it. I just call it delicious. But here I'm going to cut a piece so you can see what the inside looks like after it's all assembled. I think it turned out really, really good. So I hope you guys make it. And if you do, comment below and let me know how it turned out. And also if you have any questions about anything regarding this video, comment below and I will get back to you as soon as I see it. But that is all I have for you today. I really hope you enjoyed this video as much as I enjoyed making it for you guys. If you did, please give this video a thumbs up and thank you for watching. I'll see you in the next one.